On today's episode of Drive Hard, I'm going to take a cruise through the metro parks and talk about some past exploits, as well as give a tour of my van. We're also going to feature some music and a movie. You are now inside the Cherryacht. Sticking with the premise of this is a hardwall tent, I have kept the build in this van to a bare minimum. The only thing really permanently built in here is that bed. It's really comfortable. I had this made at an upholstery store using materials that they had on clearance. It wouldn't have been my first pick. But the price was worth it. And I put a lot of blankets on it just to keep Maui from getting hair all over it. I just have a standard carpet in here that runs the whole length of the van, which is nice. Under that is wood floor. Let's see, we'll get in the shade here so you can tell. It's just wood flooring. And underneath that is the original floor that is insulated and has like a rubber top to it for easy cleaning. We just dropped the board right on top of that. One of the other things I wanted to keep in mind with my build was making it so everything could be removed and brought back to bare bone if necessary. So this bed is easy to pull out with some bolts removed and boom, it's gone. The panels I carpeted. The panels came with the van and I just took them down and put carpeting on them, and of course I've insulated behind here in a manner that it can be removed and brought back down to bare bones. What I'm working on soon is going to be my ceiling. The ceiling has been a big quandary for me because I've wanted to keep the height and make it really low profile, and I've finally figured out a way to do that, so I'm probably going to be working on that in the next couple months. It's going to be paneled and then carpeted just like the rest. The reason why I prefer the carpet is it's really easy to just Velcro stuff to the walls. Here I have some just lights. Boop. These I picked up online. They are a gun-safe Velcro pouch. So if you had a safe and you wanted to put stuff in there and Velcro it, ta-da. But it's working well in my van. I have another one of those pouches over here. Oh, here's something we can talk about. So I had this screen put in, again, keeping in line with hardwall tent. I have screen door for the side, and I do have one for the back door, but the guy who installed this stuff didn't do a really good job, and I need to tweak it some. Other than that, yeah, toilet under the seat, mess kit under the seat, pulls out into a bed. This stuff for privacy and obviously sunscreen when parked. Oh, I had some auxiliary lights put in. These run independent to the vehicle. So the vehicle, they're not on a timer, and they can be used whether or not the vehicle is running. Got my fan vent, and it has remote control. So yeah, this is just kind of the interior. Like this webbing, very primitive, but it keeps the cushion up. And if I need straps for anything else, well, they're here handy. I think that's all I have to say for now. Hey, this is Dee, and I am up in Cleveland in the metro parks. I used to live up here in my early 20s, and this is the road that I used to take to work instead of taking the road that runs parallel to this at the top of the valley through the city. This is one of the places that I always missed when I lived in Austin. Austin is my favorite place on the planet, but nobody has a park system like this in their city. I came down here because the speed limit's 35 and it's pretty easy to just chat while driving. So here we are. There's a fucking hike and bike trail. Why aren't you on it? Dumbasses. Really? The longest I've gone with only stopping for gas would be 36 hours of driving from Canton, Ohio to Las Vegas. That was for one of my very first vending dead show scenes. And I went with a guy who had a VW bus, deadhead, wanted to check out the scene, never been to a show. So he came along, and what I found out when it was his turn to drive, that he would only go 55 miles an hour, which is ridiculous going cross country, especially out west. So I ended up doing most of the driving and got us to where we needed to go in 36 hours. It was brutal. By the time we got to Lake Mead, where we were going to be camping during the shows, I was so road buzzed. I felt like I was hallucinating. It was an incredible trip though. Boy howdy. Let's see what else. So my longest road trip was a month when I drove from Austin to Vancouver and back. For part of a time in my life, I was a quote-unquote roadie for a band called Havoc. They were a thrash metal band out of Sarasota, Florida, and they made their way to Canton through some weird circumstances. It's a story for another time. But I ended up becoming friends with the band, and as far as I was concerned, they were the most professional band that I had ever heard that wasn't signed to a label. So part of it was the traveling for me, but also another part was really wanting to help this group succeed, because they really did deserve it, and they came really close too, I should say. So while on the road, the tour bus ended up in Missouri with one of the other roadies, and we had to go get it, or at least the equipment. So off we went, and it was myself, the guitar player, some other guy named Bonai, and a woman whose car we pretty much stole, hijacked with her in it, and headed out there to Missouri, retrieved said equipment. The woman who was with us abandoned us. She left, and we ended up going in the other roadie's vehicle, towing a U-Haul trailer with all the equipment in it. And while we were on the road, the heckling became fierce, and it was generally aimed at Bonai. And if you knew Bonai, you would know why. So we're at a truck stop in Iowa, and we left him there. We pulled away from the truck stop after gassing up, knowing he was inside, and straight up just left down the highway. And of course we were going back to get him, but he was convinced that we left him, and he was extremely pissed. But shenanigans like that, always a good time. I have my Australian chewing sticks, the toothpicks with tea tree oil. I like them and always have them available on my road trips. To get from Canton, Ohio to Estes Park, where I used to live, it is over 1,200 miles. It's like 22 or 23 hours worth of driving. Except it's like 4 turns away. So from this highway, 71, you could either take 70 west or 80 and 90 west. Since we're headed south, we'll do the southern route. So, from here to Estes Park, Colorado, over 1,200 miles away, take I-71 south and make your first turn on Highway 70 west. You will take Highway 70 west straight to Denver, where you will take your second turn north on I-25. From I-25, you will take your third turn on I-34 west, which takes you right to Estes Park. Isn't that crazy? 3 turns to get you from where I am right now to Estes Park, Colorado, over 1,200 miles away. 3 turns. It's crazy. Our highway system is pretty amazing. It's movie time. California is a road trip thriller that takes place in the car of Brian Kessler, who is a journalist writing about serial killers, and his girlfriend Carrie, who is a professional photographer. They are moving from NYC to LA via the most notorious serial killer sites in America. Due to finances, the couple decides to ride share with a couple of strangers. Our couples don't realize yet that their differences go far beyond simple appearances.
Look at them, they look like Okies. Oh, Jesus, Early, they look kind of weird. They look like they got $5 between them.
Would you just smile and let me do the talking?
Let's just keep going.
David Duchovny plays Brian, Brad Pitt is Early, Juliette Lewis is Adele, and Michelle Forbes is Carrie.
When you dream, there are no rules. People can fly. Anything can happen.
Brad Pitt's portrayal of murderous, maniacal Early Grey is a performance breakout as far as I'm concerned. He became one of my favorite actors because of this performance. Adele, who looks up to Carrie, tries to emulate her in every way in an attempt to be more worldly while fearing retribution from Early.
Karma. What? Karma. You know, when you do something bad to someone and fate pays you back by something bad happening to you. Is that France?
As the plot moves along, the power dynamic changes between Brian and Early, and that's when things start to spiral out of control.
Ask me some questions. Come on. Do I feel powerful? Do I feel superior? No. I feel good.
California, a road trip into hell. Check it out wherever you get your movies. This is not another movie review. This is the Last Temptation of Christ's soundtrack by Peter Gabriel. Peter Gabriel is one of my most all-time favorite artists. In my lifetime, he has played with Genesis, with Phil Collins, branched out on his own solo, and over decades of time, has become an amazing composer and expert in experimental music, utilizing cultural sounds, time signatures, and instruments from all over the world. The reason why I like listening to The Last Temptation of Christ while I drive is, well, usually I listen to it in the morning. So you've got the sun coming up over the horizon. Either side of the highway could have mist through the trees. Just things are more serene, and the music really plays into that. There's some primitive drumming going on, and that usually keeps a nice pace with your speed, the vibration of the road. It's just a really interesting soundtrack to listen to, and definitely a good time spender while on the road. The soundtrack is instrumental, which I always like, and it's just very pleasant to drive through. It's just perfect. Other albums of note to drive through would be Up. It's one of the newer releases, and it definitely deals with movement and motion through life. And a lot of the lyrics and the moods translate, again, very well to the road. Make sure to check out Peter Gabriel if you already haven't. Pick up his music anywhere you get yours. He's got a bunch of albums to pick from. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode. I sure do appreciate it. Come back next week and find out what I'm up to. Later.